Hello learners, I am Dr. Subodh Kesharwani working with Indira Gandhi National Open University in School of Management Studies. The topic which I am going to talk today is quite contemporary in nature and it is technological innovation skill development. So if you go into the backdrop of this topic talks about innovation, topic talks about the skilling and how the business is going to be changed with the change of technology, with the change of innovations, and how the skill is going to play a very important role, because when you talk about skilling, you are grooming the employer or the employee or the sometimes the consumers also, so that they can get the customized product or the tailor-made product. So we are going to talk today about this topic in a more innovative manner, and if you see, this is part of our BCom program, that is BCom CBCS, and the name of the course is Computer Application Business, which is a third semester course, and this is part of the BCOC 132 course, and the second unit talks about technological innovation skill development. So the first unit of this particular block talks about the business, and the second unit talks about the technological innovation skill development. So if you see this technological innovation skill development, there are certain changes which are playing a very vital role as far as the business is concerned. And if the business is not going to be changed, or the pedagogy of the business is not going to change, ultimately what will happen, the product become redundant and it will be out from the market. So this innovation, and when you talk about the technology which is changing with the change of time, the today's technology may be tomorrow obsolete structure. So how you are going to adapt the change, how you are going to adapt the technology, that is going to play a very important role. And when you go more into the depth of this, it's about changing the mindset. It's not about something which talks about the technology, how you are going to change your mindset, how you are going to adapt, and how you are going to put the things into picture, that is more important. So it's all about the process, and afterwards the critical success and failure factor. We are going to do the SWOT analysis, we are going to find out, and the proper evaluation is quite important, because when you talk about the critical success and failure factors, we have to see, we have to evaluate the things in both the manner, that is the critics and the plus point and negative point. So these are the important ingredients which are very important, and increasing market competitiveness, because the way things are changing, we have seen that the market is changing with the change of time, and the shelf life of the company is changing. There was a time when shelf life of the company was 30 years, 40 years, but right now it has narrowed down to 10 years or 5 years. So how you are going to be competitive, how you are going to put the cutthroat competitions. So this is all about, so contribution to the research and development, that is more important. It's not like that research and development is purely a domain of the researchers or the scientists or the engineers, but the corporates are also doing a lot of research and development, because with that research and development, they are able to know that what could be the taste of the consumers, and what could be the pedagogy the company is going to be used. So there are certain change which are going to play a very important role, and when you talk about the change of the work culture is also going to be important, and about design of new products, services and techniques, because if you are not going to design the new product or the services or techniques, ultimately what will happen, that you are not going to survive in the market, and when you are not going to survive in the market, you will be out from the fray. So taking into consideration how we are going to design new products, services and techniques, that is very important. And improving existing products which lead to customizations, because tailor-made approach and how the product is going to be designed for the particular consumers, and it could be user friendly, these kind of the research is quite important. And when you talk about the new technological knowledge, this new technological knowledge talks about the certain changes which are coming up, like artificial intelligence or machine learning, or the deep learning or Internet of Things, because when you are going to talk about the knowledge, you have to see the knowledge in a technological perspective. And finally, the skilling is going to play a very important role, because how the technology is going to be imbibed amongst the employees, among the humans, so that they can adapt the change. There are certain fears which are in their mind, that when the technology enters, ultimately they will be out from the picture. So this kind of fear should not be there. So if you talk about this particular theme, it revolves around the technological innovation and skill development, and as I have already told you that if you see this paradigm shift in societal change, we have started with the hunting society, then we have got agrarian society, then industrial society, then information society, and finally the smart society is there. So we have moved from there is a paradigm shift from 4.0 to 5.0, and when you more talk about the 4.0, it talks about the work from home culture, and then learning at your doorstep. And when you talk about the Society 5.0, it's purely smart society, which is more hybrid in nature. It's had a combination of the brick and mortar approaches and the contemporary approaches, and how it is going to be intermingled. That is all about this super smart society. And this super smart society is equipped with machine learning, artificial intelligence, and there are certain changes which are coming up. And what I have told in the very beginning, that how you're going to change the mindset, that is more important, because the conventional approach is quite fruitful in the present scenario, and if you are going to eliminate the conventional or the stereotype approaches, ultimately there are chances that the existing system would be on the deathbed. So there must be a proper synchronization, there must be a proportionately development which leads to the society in a more smart manner, and gradually the things can go on. If you are going to execute all the things in one shot, ultimately what will happen, you are not going to reach the destination in a systematic manner, and ultimately those who are associated with the organization, with the entity, or with the systems, if they will be eliminated, ultimately the whole system become collapse or haphazard. So this part need to be taken care, that how you are going to synchronize with the existing systems, and that existing systems can be executed with the contemporary thought. So if you see this technological innovation, technology and innovation when combined together lead to technological innovation. That is very true, and we all know that there is no clear-cut definition about the technology. The yesterday technology is no more fruitful in the present circumstances. So ultimately what is happening, that technology is changing with the change of time, and innovation is something which started with creativity, then inventions, and finally innovate. So technological innovation implies new technology, whereas creating new products and services, and end of the day the new business opportunities come up. There were certain products which never exist in the past, but right now if you go more into the depth of it, you will find out these products are dominating, and the pedagogy is also dominating. Moving from commerce to e-commerce, then app-based e-commerce is there, and finally you see a lot of changes is coming up, and there are certain products which never there, like the Wi-Fi bulbs, or the other things where there is no use of the stereotype approaches. You can take a help of Alexa, or you can take a help of a Google Assistant. So the voice-based technology is coming up, where if you are using a remote for the LED TVs, I think the voice-based model had come up where there is no use of remote. So ultimately the voice recognition software can enable or facilitate the viewers to just on the TV or off the TV. So this kind of model is going on. So when you talk about the technological innovations, it talks about generate or create a new idea which is based on technological capability or knowledge, which we usually call as an invention. So develop the idea into a reality, leading to building of a product, and this is called realization. So finally, when you invent the product, when they realize, and then the implementation comes into picture. So implementation of new idea is going to play a very important role, because how you're going to implement that is more important. And when you talk about the technological innovations can be intangible, and as opposed to technology which is tangible in nature, because we can never get in a physical format as far as the innovation is concerned. So you can even apply the innovation process to your everyday life, and that we are doing. There are certain things which we are doing in our day-to-day activity, and from that activity we convert it into a process. So technology can be used to implement innovations, but the technology itself does not produce innovation. That is very true, because technology works as an enabler, and how we are going to use it, that is more important. There are certain examples which are definitely add over here, like the drone example. When drone was originated or invented at that time, it was, it was not everybody cup of tea to go and buy the drone, because the defense or the army is using that. And after certain time, you find out that right now the drone is delivering pizza in Western worlds. So this kind of pedagogy, this kind of model had come up, where technological innovations creates opportunities for entrepreneurs to find new organizations, establish competitive positions, because we have to always see the things in a very positive manner. If we take an example of a glass, we always say the glass is half filled or half empty. So when you're talking about the innovations, when you talk about the technological innovations, you have to talk in that perspective, that it is something which is definitely going to be helpful to the individuals or the society by and large. So technological innovation also creates uncertainty and risk. It's very true, because in my previous slides I have talked about the critical success and failure factors. Because when you talk about the critical success and failure factors, you are evaluating the things in a very systematic manner, in a balanced manner. So when you try to more go for the technological implementation, and you are not taking care about your existing setups or the legacy systems or the day-to-day, the employees who are associated with that, ultimately what happen, there is a chances that the system cannot synchronize with the existing approach, and ultimately it can trouble you. So there are some good examples about the change, there are some bad examples about the change. Those who are totally depend on the change, ultimately what happen, their system become haphazard. So one has to quite cautious that if you are not going to apply the technological in a systematic manner and based on your SWOT analysis, ultimately the organization will be in trouble. And there are some good examples and there are some bad examples where they run for the technology, and ultimately what happened, their legacy system collapsed and organization were on the deathbeds. So their graph of the production and their graph of the credibility goes down as compared to the present scenario. So if you talk about this innovation in technological business, there are certain changes which had come up, like advances in machine learning innovations, then algorithm training will result in new and further developed AI, and autonomous vehicles and robotics technologies had come up. We have seen that and whole world is right now talking about the Industry 4.0 model. And when you go more into the depth of this Industry 4.0, you will find out Industry 4.0 talks about paradigm shift from fuel cars to electronic cars. And these electronic cars are somewhere the chauffeurless and somewhere run by the robots or somewhere run by the internet. So this is an era of autonomous vehicles where technology is changing with the change of time, and there are certain industries, there are certain players, automobile players, who had revamp themselves, and on the other hand, some of the organizations have not tried to adapt the technology or the innovations, so they are in trouble now and they will be out from the picture. If you talk about the product called Tesla, the Tesla stands nowhere in the market as far as the automobile industry is concerned. But right now, the car they are producing, the product they are floating into the market, it's no doubt creating a mind-boggling approach. So these kind of changes had come up. So wireless charging technologies had come up, touch screens have come up, and voice-based assistants, which I was talking about, like Alexa, Google Assistant, and Siri is coming up. So this is something which is changing with the change of time. And when you talk about the invention cycle, it starts with the innovation, and then the creativity is there, then imagination is there, and then entrepreneurship is there. Because when you talk about the entrepreneurship, it's purely a combination of imagination, creativity, and innovations. The good example are the startups. We have seen that startups are started by the grassroots entrepreneurs or the first generation entrepreneurs, and they are facilitated with the incubators, and these incubator cells are developed in the institutions, or the private institutions are also developing the incubator cells where they groom themselves, and these incubator cells sometimes facilitate in arranging venture capitalists, angel investors, crowdfunders. So ultimately what is happening, that when you talk about the invention, you have to cater the things in such a manner that it leads to employments, it leads to benefiting the society by and large. And when you talk about the entrepreneurship, you talk about the things in totality, because it talks about the employment, it talks about the livelihood of the employee, and somewhere helping the society's corporate social responsibility is there. So when you talk about invention cycle, and when this invention cycle is going to implemented in business, in enterprise, it is having a very very different results, and that results sometimes benefit the society by and large. So if you see this particular discussion, we have a unit 2 which talks about this technological innovation skill development, and this unit explains about the concept of innovation model in different types. It deliberates on the significance of skill development and initiatives taken by the government of India, because when you talk about the initiatives, there are certain initiatives taken by the organization, and on the other hand the government used to develop the pedagogy which can benefit the people by and large. So this Ministry of Skill and other model is there. So if you see this particular discussion, we are going to talk on innovations, which we have already covered a little bit. Then technological innovation is going to talk on process of innovation, type of innovation. Then there is a difference between the Make in India and Made in India, which is an initiative by Government of India, that how we can distinguish these two phenomena and use the things in a development of the country as a whole. So then Digital India model is there, which is a creation of the present Government of India initiatives. Then skill development, which talks about the approaches and strategies, and finally the Startups India incubators, because all these things are linked, because when the innovation is coming, when the new company or the new startups, because as I have told you, there was a time when the shelf life of the company was 50 years, 60 years. Right now it has narrowed down to 10 years or 20 years. If you see, there are some good companies which never exist 20 years back, and there are certain pedagogy, there are certain system, or you talk about the e-commerce, or you talk about the m-commerce, the new philosophy had come up, and we have seen that the change is changing with the change of time, and the pedagogy is changing. We are in the pandemic stage, and in the lockdown there are certain new phenomena had developed, like work from home model had come up, or the electronic learning model had changed, or virtual meeting philosophy is changing with the change of time. And somewhere there's a disturbance from the technological part, but more or less it is going to be applicable in totality. So this kind of model is going to play a very important role. And when we are innovative, it's not like that the innovation can be done in a physical manner as far as the physical appearance of the product is concerned. Sometimes we apply the innovation to make the things consumer friendly or student friendly or other. So ease of doing is going to play a very important role, and it's not like that the initiative can be taken by the individual. The government is also quite friendly in nature, and they believe in ease of doing, like making a model which can be enterprise friendly, or the entrepreneurs are facilitated to come and invest. So there are certain red tapeism which need to be eradicated or narrowed down by that. So this is all about, and if you see, when you talk about innovations, it's not like that which I have talked about, that it could be in a physical manner. When you go more into the depth of this format, there are certain things there are certain phenomena which is developed, like good place to work. And if you go more into the backdrop, you will find out that Google is a company which always stands at number one in good place to work, because it's not like that they always thinks about grooming their product, but on the other hand they are more emphasizing on taking care about the employees, how the consumers are going to be benefited, how the conducive environment need to be created, how this positive approach can be developed. And that is the reason this work from home model had been introduced by this social networking site. If you talk about the Facebook or you talk about the Google, that they are the one who have started, and during this lockdown period they have communicated to their employees that they can have they can buy the gadgets, they can buy the laptop or desktop, and there are certain amount which need to be reimbursed in lieu of that if they are going to buy. So this kind of conducive approach, this kind of positivity is definitely enhance the morale of the employee, and ultimately what happen that they can their performance can be enhanced, and it's not and they are not confined to 9 to 5 model. So what I mean to say that things are going to be changed with the change of time, and you will find out that in the coming years more changes are going to come. So there are more innovations, more inventions which talks about developing the product, on the other hand making the phenomena more fruitful or user friendly, so that it can be benefited to the employees, it can be benefited to the consumers as a whole. So if you talk about how technology work as a process, we see that technology is not merely confined with the physical appearance of the product, but it brings a certain change. It's a perpetual thing which can go on in a lifelong manner. It's not like that you can learn the technology today, but you can not going to adapt the technology tomorrow. So when you're going to talk about technology is an enabler, no doubt, and we have to always believe that technology work as an enabler. It's not like that it can surpass the humans, and so it's no doubt human and machine can go together, but when you talk about the technology as a whole, it works as an enabler, it works as a facilitator. So if you are going to take the technology in that manner, in that, definitely it would be an edge. Otherwise, it can have a very havoc situation. So this is basically a critical success and failure factor. So technology is itself a learning, and it could be more perpetual in nature, and learning can go on a day-to-day basis, or in a routine manner, or in a regular basis. So learning can be lifelong also, and when you talk about the learning could be always in a 3 layers. That is, first you learn, then unlearn, and then relearn. If you have not adapt a habit of unlearning, ultimately what happen, you would be rigid, and ultimately what happen, the product which you have created as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, become redundant, and you will be out from the picture. There are certain good examples about the product which have dominated the market, and there are some bad examples also. Kodak and Nokia are the 2 very good examples which says that they have dominated the market. If you talk about the mobile phones, if you talk about the photo reels, but ultimately what happened, with the change of digitization, with the change of digital camera, with the change of smartphone, the Kodak philosophy had gone, and they have not changed themselves. Same happened with Nokia. The operating system they are using, it's not permit the users to quite smart. So the Android had replaced the Symbian, and ultimately you see how the change had come up. So instrument was good, the battery backup was good, and loyalty was brand loyalty was there, but ultimately the company have not changed. So that is something which is quite important. And when you talk about technology, it is like a pizza, and when you go into the market to buy a pizza, you get in a square box, and when you open it, it's a circle, and when you start eating, it's a triangle. So we have to see how we are going to take the technology, how we are going to adapt the technology. Ultimately, if we are rigid, if we are not going to, because technology always it's like technology is like an opportunity, and opportunity knock the door but once. So if you are going to adapt the technology, ultimately you have to see that how you are going to take the technology. And sometimes the technology comes in a different shape, because if you get a shape of square, you can't eat. You eat when you get in a triangle mode. So you have to customize the thing. You have to make that in a tailor made, so that it can be user friendly. It can be useful for the individual. So when you go more into the depth of technology always believes in the phase implementation. It's not like that you can when you're getting the technology, you can just as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, or as a adapter, you can adapt the technology in one shot. And there is always a risk of adapting a technology in a one shot, because when you talk about the technology, it is like a rabbit. When you start evaluating, it takes a shape of an elephant, and when you go for final implementation, it takes a shape of a dinosaur. So what I mean to say, that buying a technology is not everybody cup of tea. There are certain costs which are going to be important into it. There are certain costs which are quite pivotal into it. So and it's a very expensive affair. So you have to see at which juncture you have to go for the technology, and what could be the proportion of that. So proportion is very important, and if the combination is not good, ultimately what happen, there are chances that that the taste can differ, or the requirement which you supposed to expect from the technology or from the product can vary. So that is the thing which need to be taken care.